Daniel Moore in with your VON Major News Package for today, Thursday, March 5th, 2020. In our lead stories nationally, by-election 2020, Nevis 5th St. Thomas Parish to elect new representative in the Nevis Island Assembly. And St. Kitts and Nevis' Ministry of Health ready for first case of COVID-19. Regionally, 5 coronavirus cases confirmed in French Guiana. Internationally, Elizabeth Warren ends a presidential bid. And in sports, Stephen Curry set to return for Warriors versus Raptors tonight. We'll add the details to these and other stories after this short break.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse.
Wrong.
Welcome back, and now for the national news. Polls close at 6 this evening for persons, particularly residents of St. Thomas Parish, wishing to vote in the by-election. Polls were open today at 7 a.m. A by-election is an election held in a single political constituency to fill a vacancy. This was triggered by Mr. Joseph Parry's resignation from the Nevis Island Assembly in December of 2019, who was the lone member of the opposition. The candidates vying for the St. Thomas Parish Nevis No. 5 seat are Mrs. Cleone Stapleton Simmons of the Nevis Reformation Party, whose symbol is the bottle, and Mr. Keith Scarborough of the Concerned Citizens Movement, whose symbol is the hammer. Supervisor of Elections, Mr. Elvin Bailey, in speaking with the VON Newsline, gave us this comment.
Tonight we will count, as I've advertised, at the Cotton Ground Police Station. There are those persons who wish to have an early count. I cannot guarantee an early count, but we will do our best to be in by 10 o'clock. We're trying to do things differently and more efficiently, and this by-election really has given us an opportunity to test some measures that we can do to make the process more efficient.
As of today, March 5th, 3,353 people have died globally from the coronavirus COVID-19, and 97,937 were infected, most of these cases from China. Earlier this week, French Guiana confirmed 5 cases of the coronavirus. 2 cases were confirmed in French St. Martin and 1 in St. Barthélemy or St. Bart's. Recently, Dominican Republic recorded its first case of coronavirus. The Federal Ministry of Health held a press conference on Monday, March 2nd, updating the nation about its preparedness for the virus. While there are no confirmed cases of the virus in SKN, health authorities conducted a training session on March 3rd regarding contact tracing of COVID-19. This is a process of identification of persons who may have come into contact with an infected person. Chief Medical Officer, or CMO, in the Ministry of Health is Dr. Hazel Laws.
Our internal medicine specialists at the JNF General Hospital, who conducted a very critical training session for our response teams at the JNF General Hospital and Alexandra Hospital on Monday, February the 24th, 2020. This was a success. Contact tracing is a necessary step in terms of containing an outbreak of an infectious disease. So in a sense, the Ministry of Health is in a state of readiness for our first case.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws. The VON Newsline is the recipient of an award from the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force, Nevis Division C, in recognition of its contribution to the force. This comes following Division C's Constable of the Year Awards ceremony and dinner, which was held on Saturday, February 29th. Officers from Division C were also recognized for going above and beyond the call of duty in their respective departments. Corporal Cleon Michael of the Criminal Investigations Department, CID Nevis, gave us this comment concerning the award.
This award is a part of the Nevis Planning Strategic Group, giving back to the community, to persons who have supported us over the years. So that is a way of us showing our appreciation and our gratitude towards the community and others who have supported us.
Corporal Cleon Michael. In police news, one person is in police custody assisting with investigations into the death of 20-year-old Javon Brandy of Brown Hill, Nevis, according to a police communique. An autopsy was performed on Brandy's body on Wednesday, March 4th by forensic pathologist Dr. Valery Alexandrov, who concluded that the death was a result of a single gunshot wound to the neck. Earlier this week, it was reported that Brandy's body was found lying along the roadside in Nugent's Heights, Nevis. Lawmen received the report on Sunday morning, March 1st, at about 8:30 a.m. The district medical officer arrived at the scene and pronounced Javon Brandy dead. Investigations are ongoing. The VON Newsline contacted the police, who stated that the death is also ruled as a homicide. Therefore, the murder toll for St. Kitts and Nevis stands at 3 for 2020. In collaboration with the St. Kitts and Nevis government, officials from the High Commission of Canada will be carrying out the biometrics process for visa applications for Canadian visas, for visits, study, work, or temporary residence permit, or for permanent residence. Biometrics refers to the process that are used to recognize, identify, and authenticate people based on their physical or behavioral characteristics. In November of 2014, the Canadian government informed St. Kitts and Nevis that its citizens would no longer be able to cross their border without visas. Since then, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis has made changes that guarantee its passport security and has been working to restore visa-free access to Canada. Canadian officials will be in St. Kitts and Nevis on Thursday 26th and Friday 27th March 2020 to carry out the biometric processing for persons wishing to obtain visas. The Federal Ministry of Education, through a technical and vocational project, will bring about an upgrade to technical and vocational education and training, or TVET, in all secondary schools in St. Kitts and Nevis. That is according to Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Education, the Honorable Sean Richards, who made the announcement earlier this week. Technical and vocational education training is education and training which provides knowledge and skills for employment. He said that it is a project of some $30 million, ensuring that your children can get training in technical and vocational areas. According to the Education Minister, whether it is electrical engineering, technical drawing, woodworking, hairdressing, or auto mechanics, under that project, all of those subject areas will be delivered in all of the secondary schools here in SKN. The project is intended to bring an upgrade to the technical and vocational areas in all secondary schools across St. Kitts and Nevis. In more national news,
other minor road works are ongoing in Hanley's Road and Stony Grove. Drainage works are being executed at Rollins Village and Cocoa Gut. We are, of course, appealing to the traveling public to exercise due care and attention when driving in these areas wherever road works are happening. So we're making the roads better, but please don't speed. Don't be reckless on the roads, and don't have us regret the investment that we are making. We're making it better so as to make traversing our island better and easier, enhancing people's property value.
Premier the Honorable Mark Brantley. He was speaking in relation to road works here on Nevis. Last week, the Premier stated that the Brown Hill and Craddock Road rehabilitation projects will continue shortly. Phase 1 of the Brown Hill Road Rehabilitation Project was completed between October and November of 2018. The second phase of the project began in 2019. Work on the Craddock Road Rehabilitation Project began in November of 2018 and cost an estimated EC $4.8 million. The project entails changing pipelines and major drainage works. That is the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vaughanradio.com or check us out on Facebook at Vaughan Radio or our Vaughan Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
We know you have your personal as well as your business needs, and we're here to help. Our knowledgeable staff will work with you to help you achieve the financial success that you or your company needs in a competitive market. We offer solutions to make your banking experience easier, like our savings and checking accounts. Be sure to ask about our youth savers accounts and our Bank of Nevis Gold Club. We offer a wide range of personal loans, including mortgage, land, student, auto, and consumer loans. Have access to your funds instantly with our BeOnline internet banking and our debit and credit cards. We make international banking and investing easy. How's your business? Give it the leverage it really needs by letting the Bank of Nevis assist you with all the necessary funding for all your business expenses. It's that easy. What are you waiting for? The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/The Bank of Nevis.
Welcome back, and now for the regional news. The Prefecture of French Guiana and the French agency Agence Régionale de Santé, or ARS, have confirmed 5 cases of coronavirus COVID-19 in French Guiana. The 5 live in Saint-Laurent de Maroni in South American country. Local media say they probably contracted the virus in France, where they participated in a religious rally which was held in Mulhouse from February 17th to the 24th. Several people who have attended that rally tested positive for the virus in France. The ARS said the health of the 5 is not of concern at this time, and they are being treated in hospital, according to stluciannewsonline.com. The website did not say when the 5 traveled from France to French Guiana. The 5 cases bring to 8 the amount of people who have tested positive for coronavirus in French overseas territories. There are 2 cases in French Saint Martin and 1 in Saint Barthélemy or Saint Bart's. Meanwhile, St. Vincent was not named among the Caribbean countries that have the capacity to test for coronavirus COVID-19. Director of the Washington-based Pan American Health Organization, or PAHO, Dr. Carissa Entine, told the CARICOM News Conference that PAHO has some concern for countries with weak health systems. She added that it was important to note that several countries in the region have the capacity to test for COVID-19. These include Suriname, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Dominica, Jamaica, Belize, the Bahamas, and Haiti, and also Martinique, French Guiana, Curaçao, Aruba, and St. Martin, and the British Territories, Cayman Islands, and Bermuda, according to News784.com. Haiti has launched an international appeal for US $235 million aimed at meeting the humanitarian needs of 2.1 million Haitians through an updated version of the Response Plan Humanitarian 2019-2020. The humanitarian response plan that we're launching is proof that the government and humanitarian agencies are driven by the same deep conviction, that of an effective and efficient implementation of humanitarian aid in Haiti, said Minister of Planning Jaroudi Ali. The launch on Monday, in presence of representatives of various humanitarian agencies, comes at a time when the French-speaking Caribbean community, or CARICOM country, has been experiencing a serious political, economic, and social crisis, according to nationnews.com. The plan has been updated to respond to a significant increase in the number of people needed, which increased from 2.6 million in 2019 to 4.6 million in 2020. Officials said that this increase is explained by the serious deterioration of the humanitarian solution closely linked to the crisis, but also by an improvement in the calculation methodology and greater availability of data. Grenada has one of the highest rates of cancer in the region, and as a result, the country will set aside an entire month dedicated to cancer awareness. This was revealed recently by Dr. Sonia Nixon of the Ministry of Health as she received EC $43,500 raised by the CIBC First Caribbean Bank's Walk for a Cure 2019. The Grenada Cancer Society received $29,000, while the Pink Ribbon Charity got $14,500. Dr. Nixon said there was a need for the country to go beyond World Cancer Day observed on 4th February to a full Cancer Awareness Month to give increased support and education and early screening initiatives. The idea was also fully supported by other stakeholders attending the handover ceremony. The ministry plans to use the recently donated mobile unit to reach out to the island's deep rural communities where agricultural workers may find it challenging to leave their daily work routines to visit medical facilities in the towns for screening. This initiative will allow the opportunity for screening and detection to come directly to them in their villages. A challenge was also issued to the local media to continue to spread the message of importance of being screened, regardless of whether they have any symptoms of the disease, NowGrenada.com says. And finally, in the regional news segment, in the British Virgin Islands, or BVI, the trial for the 30.9 million cocaine busts which occurred on Virgin Gorda on October 27th last year has been delayed at the Magistrate Court because of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution was not ready, according to BVInews.com. The three-day trial was expected to begin before Magistrate Ayana Baptista Brio on Wednesday. However, an attorney representing the ODPP who was temporarily handling the matter for another counsel who had primarily conduct of the case informed the court that after reviewing the file, certain items were missing. The Crown Counsel said photographic evidence that was taken by the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, a statement from a customs officer, and another statement to go along with the surveillance footage of the incident in question were all missing. Still in regional news, citizens of the United Arab Emirates can now travel to Dominica without a visa. The Dominican Embassy in Abu Dhabi said a visa waiver agreement between the two countries has now come into force. Holders of UAE diplomatic, official, special, and ordinary passports may now visit the Eastern Caribbean island without a visa. Conversely, Dominicans with a diplomatic and official passport can gain UAE entry with a visa upon arrival, while those with an ordinary Dominica passport can obtain an e-visa. Those who have become economic citizens of Dominica via its Citizenship by Investment program can subsequently apply for an ordinary passport, which allows them to enter the UAE based on an e-visa. That is the regional news segment. International news is up next. Welcome back, and now for the international news. Senator Elizabeth Warren ended her presidential campaign after a poor showing on Super Tuesday. A favorite of the liberal left, the Massachusetts senator had been the front runner in the Democratic field. However, Ms. Warren, 70, failed to convert early excitements into votes. The Democratic contest to take on President Donald Trump is now seen as a two-horse race between former Vice President Joe Biden, 77, and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, 78. Here is Ms. Warren.
So I announced this morning that I am suspending my campaign for president. I say this with a deep sense of gratitude for every single person who got in this fight every single person who tried on a new idea, every single person who just moved a little in their notion of what a president of the United States should look like. I will not be running for president in 2020, but I guarantee I will stay in the fight for the hardworking folks across this country who've gotten the short end of the stick over and over. That's been the fight of my life, and it will continue to be so.
The World Bank has committed $12 billion in aid for developing countries grappling with the spread of the coronavirus. The emergency package includes low-cost loans, grants, and technical assistance. The action comes as leaders around the world pledge to shield their countries from the economic impact of the outbreak. It follows warnings that slowdown from the outbreak could tip countries into recession. The aid is intended to help countries improve their public health response to the crisis, as well as work with the private sector to reduce the economic impact. An investigation of alleged war crimes by the U.S. and others in the Afghan conflict can go ahead, the International Criminal Court, or ICC, has ruled. The ICC overturned on appeal a previous decision to block the investigation. The actions of the Taliban, the Afghan government, and U.S. troops since May of 2003 are expected to be examined. Afghanistan is a member of the court, but officials have expressed opposition to the inquiry. ICC Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda has been seeking a formal investigation into the alleged crimes since 2017.
Prosecutors at the International Criminal Court received submissions from thousands of alleged victims in Afghanistan when they announced they were seeking the court's permission to launch a formal war crimes investigation. But the United States, which is not a signatory to the ICC, has expressed its opposition to the inquiry, as have Afghan officials. Last year, judges ruled that meant the chances of a successful prosecution were so slim an investigation would not be in the interest of justice. A decision overruled today on appeal. Prosecutors will now be able to begin the lengthy process of investigating allegations of abuses by US-led troops, Afghan security forces, as well as the Taliban and so-called Islamic State.
And finally, in our international news segment, officials in the United States are searching for more than 2,000 people who disembarked from a cruise ship in San Francisco last month to test them for COVID-19. A man who was on board has died of the disease. The BBC's Will Leonardo reports.
Californian officials are trying to locate over 2,000 former passengers who were on board the Grand Princess cruise liner during its trip to Mexico last month. After docking in San Francisco, the vessel left on another voyage, this time to Hawaii. Several passengers on that trip have now been taken ill. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, said the Grand Princess would now be held at sea.
We are going to be flying testing kits to the cruise ship, and we are going to be sending those quickly back to the state, where we'll be able to test within just a few hours those samples.
California has so far reported over 50 cases of the virus. Elsewhere in the US, 10 people have now died from COVID-19, all in Washington state.
That is the international news segment. Sports is up next.
Calling all farmers! The place to shop in the month of March is the TDC Home and Building Depots. Get a 20% off all agro products. Then on Saturday, 28 March, visit the farmers market to purchase your fresh produce direct from the farm to your table from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in both locations. The TDC Home and Building Depots, celebrating farmers, supporting communities. Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details.
Welcome back, and now into sports. In basketball, Stephen Curry is scheduled to return from a more than 4-month absence with a broken left hand to play for Golden State against the Toronto Raptors this evening. The Warriors announced Wednesday night that Curry had been medically cleared to play and would be in the lineup this evening in a rematch of last year's NBA Finals won in 6 games by Toronto. The two-time NBA MVP missed 58 games after falling on his left hand on October 30th versus the Phoenix, according to NBA.com. He practiced Monday with the G League Santa Cruz Warriors and then was recalled back to the NBA team later in the day in the most expected promotion. Curry's initial game back from injury also will be his first on the court with Andrew Wiggins, who was acquired by the Warriors from Minnesota on February 6th for guard D'Angelo Russell and guard Jacob Evans and forward Omari Spellman. Wiggins is scoring 20.1 points in his first 9 games with the Warriors. In cricket, Australia defied the rain to beat South Africa on the Ducksworth-Lewis-Stern method and set up a Women's T20 World Cup final against India. Australia 134 runs for 5 of 20 overs, Lanning 49 runs not out, Mooney 28 runs, de Klerk 3 for 19. The scores for South Africa: 92 runs for 5 off 13 overs, Waldvart 41 runs not out, lose 21 runs, shoot 2 for 17. Australia won by 5 runs, DSL method. In basketball, in Game 1 in the best-of-3 finals played by the Under-20 Basketball Championships on the evening of Wednesday, March 4th, NABA Chargers went up against the Bird Rock Uprisers. The final scores were Bird Rock Uprisers 84 points, NABA Chargers 62 points. Game 2 is now set for Saturday, March 7th at 6 p.m. In more local sports, the St. James Primary School held its sports meet on Tuesday, March 3rd on the school grounds under the patronage of Miss Latoya Busu. At the end of the meet, the scores were Gold House 346 points, champions, Green House 253 points, and Red House 233 points. In football, Tottenham and England striker Harry Kane insists he will be fit for Euro 2020 and hopes to return next month. The 26-year-old has not played since rupturing a tendon in his left hamstring at Southampton on 1st January. The severity of the injury necessitated surgery, leading to concerns about the England captain's involvement in Euro 2020, which begins on 12th June, but Kane said, "Unless something pretty drastic happens between now and then, I'll be there." Kane, Tottenham's leading scorer for the past 5 seasons, has resumed light training in Spurs ahead of the schedule, but will miss England's home friendlies against Italy and Denmark this month. In tennis, British number 1 Johanna Kontaveit beat Kim Clijsters 6-3-7-5 at the Monterrey Open to claim her first win of 2020. Kontaveit failed to convert 2 early breaking points, but made the breakthrough in the 7th as she won 4 straight games to take the first set. The second set was much tighter and looked set for a tie-break, but an unenforced error from the 38-year-old Belgian handed Kontaveit the win. It was only Clijsters' second match since coming out of retirement. And finally, in sports and athletics, Olympic 300 meters steeplechase champion Ruth Jabit has been given the 4-year ban after testing positive for man-made EPO. The 23-year-old Bahrainian athlete was suspended in February 2018 after failing to come out of competition test. Jabit told Athletes Integrity Unit in March 2018 she had not taken it intentionally, but a disciplinary tribunal has now ruled against her. The AIU said the ban would run from the date of the initial suspension, 2018. That's it for sports. The latest weather forecast is up next. The weather tonight: fair to partly cloudy with a 20% or slight chance of a brief shower. Winds east at 8 to 14 knots or 50 to 26 kilometers per hour. The seas 1.2 to 1.8 meters or 4 to 6 feet. The sunrise tomorrow is at 6:25 p.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Thursday, March 5th, 2020. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, by-election 2020, Nevis number 5, St. Thomas Parish, to elect new representative in Nevis Island Assembly. And St. Kitts and Nevis Ministry of Health ready for first case of COVID-19. Regionally, 5 coronavirus cases confirmed in French Guiana. Internationally, Elizabeth Warren ends U.S. presidential bid. And in sports, Stephen Curry set to return for Warriors versus Raptors tonight. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Danielle Moore, wishing you a pleasant evening.